Imagine if just 16 days stood between you and a radically transformed life you dreamt of. An incredible life, working on your terms, happening the way you choose it to, being as successful and serene as you pick, where stress, anxiety, and uncertainty no longer hold you back. What if I told you that the ancient philosophy of Stoicism will unlock a more resilient, more focused, more fulfilling existence than you ever thought possible? Join us as we dive deep into Stoicism, exploring practical steps that can drastically reshape your mindset, skyrocket your resilience, and radically alter your life in just an hour together. Ready to start this life-changing journey? Let's begin. In today's fast-paced, chaotic world, many times we struggle and fight just to get through it daily. From the myriad of problems we encounter, emotional roller coasters we constantly are dealing with from others, tense situations we feel inexorably tied to, and much, much more. But what if I told you there was a very powerful, incredibly practical and effective ancient philosophy called Stoicism that addressed almost all of the typical mindsets, problems, situations, and complex challenges we still face every day, even 2,000 years later? Yes, you heard that right. It's 100% applicable to everything in our life today and has the power to drastically improve facets of your life from day one once you begin implementing them in your daily regime today. This is the power of Stoicism. The power to transform your life beginning today forward, to drastically change how you move through the world, how you perceive others and events outside of you, how to take things that happen and leverage them into success and options you never knew was possible up until now. In this video, we are going to take a deep dive into the heart of Stoicism, its most important principles, and how you can begin implementing them today to rapidly improve every aspect of your life sooner rather than later, much sooner. We'll explore its principles with examples and key concepts in applying them to today's world so they are easy to understand, easy to implement, and easy to start getting noticeable direct benefits from in your life today now. By the end of this journey together, you will have a strong grasp on the most profound and effective Stoic principles available. You will know how they work, how to apply them, and to what extent they apply to your circumstances. You'll learn how to turn obstacles into opportunities, chance into fortune, chaos into clarity and strength. If you're ready to begin your transformation together here, right now, let's begin. Welcome to your 16-day intensive Stoic course that will radically change your life for the better in every way. Each chapter covers 4 days of instruction, principles, how they work and can be applied, and most importantly, exercises for you to begin doing in that section. So Chapter 1 will include the first series of exercises for you to begin using and seeing results with. Chapter 2 will include a new set of exercises to add on to the prior exercises as well to work on consistently, so that by the time you reach the end of the 16 days, you have a set of exercises you do consistently across each week from all 4 chapters and their principles to change your life. And change your life they will. Each exercise will rapidly change how you see and handle situations you encounter, teach you powerful ways of dealing with perceived things going on and people, teach you ways to become more confident in yourself and what you do, more resilient in mind, and cause you to have much more clarity in life that you didn't know was possible up until now. We will begin with Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism. Zeno of Citium was what we would call the founder of Stoicism. He was born in Citium of Cyprus, hence his namesake. After arriving in Athens around 300 BCE, Zeno studied under various philosophers, including Crates of Thebes, a prominent Cynic philosopher. Cynicism's emphasis on living in accordance with nature greatly influenced Zeno's early thinking. Years later, as he matured, Zeno taught his philosophy at the Stoa Poikile, painted porch, in Athens, which is where the term Stoicism originated. His followers were called Stoics because they gathered at this public porch to listen to his teachings. Zeno's school quickly became a major intellectual force in Athens, attracting students from various backgrounds. His teachings resonated with both the elite and the general population because of their emphasis on rational self-control, ethics, and personal virtue. He offered a philosophy that could be applied to public life, personal conduct, and governance. Let's look at some of Zeno's most profound teachings and how they impact and affect your life today in Chapter 1. Number 1. To be calm is the highest success of oneself. Zeno, through his teachings and creating of Stoicism, taught that learning how to identify external events and intervening in how they affect us can have profound effects on our internal state, our mindset, our emotions, and our behaviors. His fundamental teachings include that we have control over our thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and what is inside of us. We have no control over external events, outside activities, what other people do, say, and so on. Therefore, identifying when an external event is affecting you and learning tried and true Stoic techniques to eliminate it affecting you has profound results, including more confidence, a more calm and logical mind, less stress and anxiety, among many other benefits. Learning the process of becoming calm in situations across the entire spectrum leads to many benefits and strengths being developed in you, from a confidence welling up inside when you say and do things around others, to a strong iron-like will when you decide to do something important and know nothing is going to stop you now. A calm mind is most beneficial to emotional situations and interactions, serving as the critical piece of the puzzle for acting correctly and with intention in the situation, acting logically, doing what is right and appropriate there now, instead of being emotionally controlled, reactive, and with no regard to anything logical or common sense based. Indeed, in this chapter and the rest, you will see principles embed this mindset in everything they do, everything they teach, and the exercises contained in this video. So get ready. Number 2, focus on what you can control. Heavily related to number 1 above, Zeno teaches us to focus on what we can control. In effect, we can control what we think, how we act, and what happens inside of us. Nothing more. We cannot control others, cannot control outside or external events, and is a waste of time and energy concerning yourself with them at all. You have no effect on external people or events whatsoever. This can be tremendously liberating mindset shift. In today's age, we are so caught up in social media, what people think of this and that, and getting involved in external events that have nothing to really do with us, that we are constantly controlled, influenced, and dragged around by these things. Instead, focus on what you can control, your reaction to things, your mindset, how you behave, how you interact with others, and so on. As an exercise here, think about a situation or something someone said recently that really affected you, emotionally, personally, socially, etc. Now change your mind about how you feel about all of that. What if your prior assessment was entirely wrong? Change how you interpret it into one of, I don't care what they said or did, it's irrelevant and their problem, and really begin to consider and think about that being the case instead. Here we are training your mind to look and reframe external problems into irrelevant events to not care about, instead of the previously destructive behaviors you had, focusing on them, obsessing about them, overreacting to them, and so on. Change the meaning and assumption you had about that person or what was said. Focus and really explore the new meaning you've assigned to it now. What they did or said doesn't matter, it doesn't affect anything, and not worth time or energy bothering with at all. It's their problem for one reason or another, and they need to deal with it, not me. This is your first powerful exercise to rapidly begin shifting the meaning and experiences you have in your world for the better, to focus on the right things instead of putting all that time, energy, and resources into external events or people. Also remember the most critical part of this principle, the part that makes this work even faster and more effectively for you than ever. We only have a limited amount of time, attention, and resources to deal with external events and situations happening around us. Each and every day, that amount of energy is finite, it is limited, and is different for each and every one of us. Instead of wasting it on people, things, or events outside of us we will ever affect, never change, we turn to these Stoic principles to rapidly change and redirect all of that to benefit us in our daily lives now. For our next exercise, we will write down the entire process. So on a sheet of paper, divide it down the middle into the left and right side. We are going to literally see how different the results will be when you use this new, incredible exercise and begin using it every day now. So on the left side, think of a situation recently that you got tied up in that was complicated, nasty, and resulted in a lot of unproductive or negative things. And write it down, some of the results from it, what you physically did and said regarding it. Then on the right side instead, think to yourself now, if I had just ignored the entire person or situation, known it has nothing to do with me and nothing I did affected or should have been involved with it. Really begin to brainstorm the mindset shift and what would have been different now. Write down what would have been different. What would you have said or not said? What would you have done differently physically? What would the social situation be like now that you had not involved yourself with at all, mentally, physically, or socially? And look at that sheet. Look at all the resources, time, energy that was wasted on the left side versus the right side. What could you have done with all of that energy instead? Focused it on something important to you? Focused it on family? Focused it on making more money? The possibilities are limitless once you see this process happening on paper now. Chapter 2. For Phase 2, we will look at Seneca and his teachings. Seneca was a famous Roman Stoic who was born in Córdoba, Spain. His family was wealthy. As an adult, he was later appointed as a senior advisor to Nero the emperor. Seneca had a very tumultuous life that included getting exiled to the island of Corsica, and later, through accusations of adultery, forced by Emperor Nero to commit suicide. These next 4 days will force you to look at your values, your virtues, and make them real. Number 1. Seneca taught and explained the importance of living according to virtue in life. The virtues are the highest good a person can achieve, consisted of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. He taught us that living and practicing these virtues strengthen all of the other principles taught here, and allow one to live in harmony with nature and in life. You must determine what each of these mean in your life and to what extent. Wisdom could be the willingness to hear multiple sides to an argument. While no one can speak to Seneca's accusations, or if he was involved in any of it, obviously being 2,000 years ago, he spent his entire life promoting and showing others how to live these ideals in their lives as well, to show others what justice in life could really mean and imply. For example, justice could mean one set of things to someone and yet a vastly different set of things to another. Does justice apply to each and every person based on their personality or history or the crime itself? You must decide those in your life and live according to those. That drastically improves your genuineness with others, your willingness to understand and learn about others while showing the people around you that you have standards, you have limits as to what is acceptable, and you will or will not tolerate in life. Also remember, if you have no ideas or thoughts about what justice is, then you have no opinion or position on things when they happen in life around you. You have no position on a terrible event, and to what extent, if any, it should not have been done at all. You are a blank slate, that is colored and filled in by whatever happens around you that you've accepted now without thought or critical consideration. Your exercise for number 1. Take some time out and really write down all the details of some of your virtues. Wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. What do those specifically mean to you? How do they work and not work in life according to you? As you start to flesh out word by word how each of these virtues happen and are true for you, you can also begin to implement these in your life, in actions and situations you encounter each and every day. Is it more important to do the right thing or do the thing that keeps the minimum amount of destruction from happening? Dive deep into each virtue and write out how it works according to your perspective. And realize, really begin to internalize as well, that our experiences, our behaviors, and most importantly our beliefs can change drastically over time. For example, you can probably think of something you believed to be true when you was 20, that if you are 45 or 50 now, you know is not true and never was. But due to time, experience, different thoughts and mindsets, changes in emotions, your belief about it changed over time. Such is the human spirit and mind-body. Beliefs, much like our minds, our thoughts, bodies, and much more change over time. Number 2, learn mastery over the emotions. Seneca taught us that we must learn to identify when events were affecting us emotionally and causing us to act because of those emotions. He said that we must learn to control our emotions, especially negative ones like anger and fear, for those have the most disastrous and dangerous consequences in life. By learning to identify when we are being affected and swayed by our emotions, we take an important first step in learning how to step back from the event or situation. We step back from it and instead look at it with a more clear head, calm mind, and logical perspective, instead, so that we can proceed correctly with intent now, instead of emotion drawing us in, manipulating us entire time, and creating all kinds of problems that were not necessary to begin with. Exercise. A powerful exercise you can do here is to sit down and, with pen and paper, write out several instances in the last few years where a situation affected you emotionally, and because of the emotions involved, things happened in negative, destructive, unpositive ways that should not have happened at all. And if you were to take a step back from those situations now and looked at it logically, what should you have done instead? Chapter 3. For Phase 3 of your 16-day total transformation, we will look at some of the most important and influential writings in Stoicism. The books, scrolls, and public teachings that have shaped nations, withstood the test of time, and drastically improved lives many times over. It's your chance to learn these now and begin implementing them to improve your mindset, navigate life much more powerfully, and become a lot more confident internally than you ever thought possible. Number 1. Discourses by Epictetus. Discourses was a series of lectures given publicly by Epictetus and transcribed by this seasoned apprentice, Arian. These lectures focus on what we can control, our thoughts and actions, and those things we cannot control, outside events and people. He says that we have ownership of those things within us, our thoughts, our actions, our emotions. We do not have ownership of those things outside of us, what others do or say, how others act, external events to us. Therefore, investing time, energy, or resources into external events is a waste of time that serves no purpose. He teaches us in Discourses 1-1 that we cannot control how others speak to us or criticisms and insults others have about us. We do, however, have control over how we react to those things. By choosing not to be offended or affected by what they say, we maintain our peace of mind and reinforce our internal strength. In several references, Epictetus says that those wordings of others are fleeting lights in the night that are quickly forgotten by fools. And as such today, that what is said by people is quickly forgotten, most notably insults, criticisms, and such. He also explains how external goods, wealth, and status really work in life. He tells us that while those things are preferable, they are outside of our control. We should not become noticeably attached to them, lest over time we begin losing pieces of ourselves to them. We make exchange agreements with wealth or status. We give a part of ourselves up in exchange for the wealth and status that changes us for the worse. An important factor here as well is primarily how we handle loss of these external goods in life. Think about it. Has there been a time you lost something physical in your life that meant a lot to you, cost a lot of money or time? How did you react? Did you handle it with calm, cool demeanor and intent, or did you get reactive to it? Did you emotionally view the event and be affected by it for a while? Number 2. Fragments by Chrysippus. Although many of Chrysippus' writings have been lost to time and dust, Fragments remains one of the most influential and important teachings in Stoicism. Chrysippus was the third head of the Stoic school of philosophy and focused on systematizing Stoicism along with advancing the areas of logic, physics, and ethics within the school. In his work, Fragments, Chrysippus teaches us that emotions are judgments. In effect, emotions are the result of incorrect judgments or beliefs. By changing these judgments and aligning them with reason, one can achieve apatheia, or freedom from destructive emotions. It is also within his teachings. He talks about the wall of waves process of learning how the external world is perceived, interpreted, and we make sense of it as well. We can achieve apatheia by beginning to recognize that emotions like fear, anger, or grief result from mistakenly believing that external events, such as loss, pain, or insult, are inherently bad. External events are neither good nor bad, only instances of something that happened. It is through our senses taking all of that information in, processing it, running it through filters and belief systems we have, do we finally make meaning out of it all and store it away internally for later. And that process, we can begin to pay attention to, focus on how it works, and consciously begin changing how we interpret things and events coming in from the outside now. For Chapter 4 and the last 4-day phase of the 16-day transformation, we will look at the infamous Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, and famous Stoic philosopher. Marcus studied and taught much different areas of life than the typical Stoic philosopher. Number 1. One of his most important and profound teachings Marcus had for us is that of life being impermanent. Life, much like the universe, is chaotic and has ebbs and flows to it. Extremes in every respect, constantly. He teaches us not to get too tied up with current circumstances you might find yourself in, or even with death. Life with its random, chaotic design will rapidly change, irregardless of anything you do. It is better and more powerful internally for you to understand life is this way and to accept it as such. You can now see how, not getting too involved in an emotional situation currently, things tend to rapidly change without any prompts at all. Indeed, it can be a dangerous trap we inadvertently fall into in life, the trap of consistency. We tend to get stuck in negative loops and cycles and assume they will never change. Things will always be this way. Looking at and taking on Marcus' approach here now, we can begin to powerfully see and utilize the fact that life is chaotic, that things tend to change quite often and very dramatically at that. We can bank on it, count on it, and learn to expect it now instead of getting locked into negative cycles of assuming we are stuck with no way out. Number 2, focus on the present. Marcus was very wise beyond his years, and as such, as a powerful Stoic philosopher, understood that time can be quite deceiving. We neither have power over the past or the future, which are outside of us. We should instead put attention and focus and resources into the present instead. While we cannot change the past, we do not yet know what the future holds. and there is no reason to delve into the possibilities of what if regarding it. All that is a waste of time and resources, almost always to our extreme detriment. And almost every time what we think of it in our heads is almost never what happens in real life. Our best and most successful approach, then, is to focus on the present and be in the present in our day-to-day lives instead. An amazing exercise here relates to mindfulness, which is what Marcus teaches us in learning to live in the present whenever possible. You can begin to practice this as well. To take 5 minutes alone and simply close your eyes. Focus on your breath, the feeling of your hands, your feet, your body, and how you're standing. Don't allow any thoughts of the past or present to pop up while doing this, and if they do pop up, simply brush them aside and continue focusing on the present activities internally. As you begin practicing this exercise in mindfulness, you can also begin to expand it. Do short durations of this exercise in other contexts, other situations where it is helpful. Begin learning how to be in the present moment and focusing on things you can control, such as your breath, instead of constantly being outwardly focused, thinking of things related to the past or future which are irrelevant now. Each chapter of this video has taught you powerful, incredibly useful principles and techniques to begin implementing them today in your life. To start seeing the improvements and major changes they result in, making your life and interactions better, more positive, and drastically reducing stress, anxiety, and problems encountered in the typical day. The first 4 days heavily influences Chapter 2, 3, and 4. And each other chapter is an integral part of reinforcing the other chapters here in creating a powerful, fully integrated process for you to begin drastically transforming your life in numerous positive and beneficial ways. Once you begin learning how life, the universe, and personal momentum truly works. If you found tons of value in this video and learned many new skills you can begin using today to improve relations with others, how you manage social situations, and drastically improve internal mindset and confidence in how you deal with them, click below and like the video. Maybe subscribe. We here at Stoic Legends love having you here. We strive to give the best, most powerful, effective, and carefully applied Stoic philosophy to the modern day and navigating it better and more confidently than you ever thought possible. Until next video, take care, young one.